It is being revealed now more and more, which is very interesting from an observational perspective, that humanity is getting their first taste of what it is like to have immediate manifestation of consciousness. And what we mean by that is you begin to see what you think you will see. You begin to draw to yourself manifestations of consciousness that fulfill a imagination drive to reveal something to oneself. So, for example, there are many right now who are beginning to witness within their reality a constant stream of confirmation of what they expected to see to begin with. And one in the days prior to these very modern days, you might say, on the spiritual path of the last 50 years, one would call it the ability to manifest, how to manifest, which is humorous in itself because you have to be conscious enough to get out of your own way to manifest. And people love to work with this idea of manifestation. And yet it is so simple that you just have to get out of your own way to do it. And the trick, of course, is that the ego doesn't want to get out of the way. The idea that it is individual and that it is creating something. It does not want to get out of the way because it wants to experience itself getting something. It wants to experience, very much like a baby when they finally get the square block into the square hole, the success moment. And humanity has spent a long time trying to experience true success in that way. True success meaning this inner feeling of absolute fulfillment within oneself, that you are on purpose, that you are moving ahead in some type of divine harmony. That is what humanity has been longing for, and it has been tripped up over its own feet, trying to solve the reality of its sense of lack. And so it has been talked about through many spiritual, religious ideas over many centuries, trying to explain to humanity that they're actually not wanting what they're wanting. And it is very difficult to learn this lesson when the premium human journey has been to find itself utterly alone and utterly individual and utterly isolated. This was a great blessing from the God source because it is a rare opportunity to find yourself so utterly alone. And the interesting thing about this type of journey with humanity is that there is always the possibility that humanity, its form, will destroy itself in the process. And so that is why these days, these years have been so highly focused upon by so many from the, ancient prediction texts, because it is always a risk that humanity will not survive, you see, because it is an experiment. It is a play. And of course, when we say not survive, there is always survival because consciousness, and even when you've worked this long and this hard on individuation, you have created for yourself a soul which has its own flavor. Just that alone is such a gift. And the soul incarnates into a physical body, and then it starts bumping into walls. It finds its limitations very quickly. So even if all of humanity was wiped out in a terrible flood, as has been popular in the stories, it is not disappearing anywhere. It is like having to wait in the waiting room for another opportunity for the earth, for example, to allow herself again to be embodied by many beings. And some forget this idea that Gaia is a being. Gaia needs a break. And just like humanity, sometimes you want to take a vacation. If you are a big planet such as Gaia, you will need a considerable amount of time to take a break from the war zone that is the emotional nature of the evolving humanity. Most everything. But we want to emphasize this because we understand that some ask, what does it matter about knowing about the history of not just this planet, but of humanity itself? And we want to emphasize that it is everything. To remember one's origins, it is satisfying beyond satisfaction. And you know this when you hear of a past life from a human perspective, from this linear idea, and lives are not linear. This is something humanity has to really embrace at this point. It is time to grow up beyond linear understanding. Everything is happening all in the now, as they say, but it is much more interesting than just that. It is all happening and reacting off of its own lifetimes. We will speak just of this idea of an individuated soul, and even that is complex, but we will try to speak in a more basic way to get this idea through. And that is just like water molecules, or any molecules really, that are reactive to each other. Positive, negative poles, pulling, moving out. There's all these directions that can occur. And one move you make in this life is affecting every other life that is existing now as you. It has to be that way. It is impossible not to be that way. So that is why a seeming positive, a seeming affirming experience is felt and experienced in all the lifetimes that are being lived by you in every realm right now. Now, there is a point where a soul is no longer individual. And so it becomes this idea of a group soul. And that leads us back to this idea that as Ashtar, we are communicating from eighth density reality, filtering down. And we are able to do this because the channel herself is able to make this connection more easily with the being that is her, in essence. It is not as far flung, you might say, as the Elohim. The Elohim are so far from a reality of comprehension that they have to step down their energy many, many times just to reach a location that the channel could actually get a few crumbs of wisdom in order to communicate from the Elohim. Now, why would the Elohim need to communicate? They are beyond comprehension. But you see, in order for these threads and these strands of reality from higher level beings to work their way down and, in essence, hook themselves and lift up the boat, as they say, the boat rises all the same with the tide, kind of an idea. It is just to put the finest thread through, to just vibrate so finely that it is like a powerful fire hose, one small thread that is filtered through the whole angelic host into this realm. So it is a service for anyone that can anchor even a small bit of what is the highest on high. It is a divine movement and it is a service in that way.